with the end of the Vietnam War and the refugees having all now reached the United States and going through a resettlement process, the intensity of my job at the National Security Council diminished considerably. My responsibilities expanded. I was covering now all of Southeast Asia. I was at the table representing the NSC at Philippine base negotiations with the foreign minister of the Philippines when he came to town. I would sit in on meetings that General Scowcroft would have with senior Indonesian officials. And I worked on several other issues that would be a thread through the next 20 years of my career. Refugees would certainly be one of those threads. And I was invited. Well, I wasn't invited. The president was invited to come to Des Moines and come to a celebration that the state of Iowa was holding for a group of refugees who Governor Robert Ray had asked permission that all of them could be resettled in Iowa, called the Tai Dam refugees. And the Governor Ray had written to the president and asking President, please come, be part of the ceremony. The letter came to me. Of course, the president couldn't do that. It was, so many things going on. He was running for re-election. And I got the letter to answer. And what you did in those days was, as a staff member, you drafted up a nice letter that would have the president's signature put on it. It would get approved up to the president's office. Whether the president would look at it or not depended on the relationship he had and how important the subject was. But we got the president's signature on it, and it would be now, we would put it in the mail and send it to the governor, and I would send a message to let some member of the governor's staff know. But I thought, well, maybe this would be a chance. I haven't been back in Iowa. I'm going to let them know I'm going to deliver the letter in person. So the governor and his office were happy enough that somebody from the White House would come in person. So I flew to Des Moines and carrying the letter and went to the ceremony, which was in a National Guard armory. And at it were the hundreds of refugees who were from Laos, and they were a distinct ethnic group called the Tai Dam. And so they're dressed in Tai Dam ethnic garb. There's Tai Dam music being played, singing going on, Tai Dam food, and there was a wonderful celebration of being in the United States, being free, having evaded communism, which they evaded it in China, moved to North Vietnam. When communists came there, they left and went to Laos. Now the communists were in charge of Laos. The Tai Dam left, were in a refugee camp in Thailand, came to the U.S., and were settled as a group to keep their culture intact by Governor Robert Ray, only governor of America who offered to do that. So I'm there. Governor Ray is introduced. He speaks. And then I'm introduced, and I come up and representing the White House. I read the letter from President Ford, and then I make some comments about how proud I am as an Iowan, grew up in Dubuque, Foreign Service officer to be here, to have carried this letter from the president, to serving at the White House. And I heaped praise on the governor for his humanitarian leadership and the members of Iowa state government and the Iowans who were also there, who had served as hosts and sponsors for these refugees. So as I finished And as I walked off the main stage back to my chair, Governor Ray said to me, complimented me on my remarks, and he said, "We sure could use a guy like you back here in Iowa." It would be a statement that would lead to me applying for a State Department program that allowed you to be assigned, loaned, maybe the right way, you'd be loaned to a governor's office for a year or two. And but at the time, I was just touched by the governor's sentiments, not realizing it was going to lead to a distinct set of experiences, a unique set of experiences for me just a couple of years later, when I in fact did return to Iowa to serve on Governor Ray's staff.